age where I need a nose clipper. My nose is going crazy. My nose hairs are getting too long. Now, let's get right into it. This is episode 546 of the Soul Not For Sale podcast. Vivek and Bill Maher, they're sitting down. In this clip, Bill Maher just loses it. And what they're talking about is the election. Not this election that's coming, because that's what you think you'd be talking about with a presidential candidate for 2024. But no, they're talking about the past election, 2020, Donald Trump, Joe Biden. And Bill Maher is so intent on hearing Vivek say that Joe Biden won the election. I have no idea where this is coming from. Again, I said it in the last episode I just put out. I don't get where this he's just losing it. He's turning in, like, I shouldn't say he's turning into a lefty because it's Bill Maher. Of course he's a lefty, of course. But the way he's acting in this podcast, the way he's getting so riled up over these topics of Trump, really eye-opening to me. Again, I still like his content. I like the podcast a lot. I like the conversations that he has. I think they're great. But to see him acting like this with Vivek, someone who, in my opinion, is so smart and has so much to say, so much good things to say for America, for you to boil down this conversation to his opinions on Trump is just mind-blowing to me. But this is like the second clip. There's more, but for right now, let's focus on this clip, and you can watch Bill Maher lose it. He's having a gaffigan. That's what I call it on this show. When somebody gets like this about Trump, they're having a gaffigan, you know? It's like a seizure, but instead of like just seizing up and everything, you kind of just say Trump a whole lot. You get really mad, you grab your head, you go like this. It's a very interesting little conniption that he's having. But before I show you that, of course, I have to bring to the store. I am CoachColin.com, where we have the Soul Not For Sale merchandise. But of course, we also have certified pure blood t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops for those of you that survived the pandemic and came out the other end unscathed, untainted, unmessed with. We'll put it like that because I'm trying not to get limited on YouTube. For those of you that survived, that stood by your morals, stood by your integrity, and didn't fold to peer pressure of every single person around you, including the government, congratulations. This is your certificate of achievement. Good job. And I'm there with you, believe me. This is the Public Enemy #1 shirt. I say it all the time. Google the World Economic Forum. Look into this gentleman. Listen to one of his speeches. Listen to what they talk about when they're at Davos and they're doing all these weird meetings and they're deciding what we should be doing and not doing it themselves. Then you'll understand why I register this man as Public Enemy #1. All of that is available on IamCoachColin.com. And if you want 10% off of anything you saw and more, all you got to do is put in the discount code IamCoachColin, all one word, all capital letters, one L in the name Colin. Thank you very much if you've already done that on our site. And other than that, let's get into the clip. Let's switch it up here. Let's go. Look, he's already in the mode. He's already riled up. Again, maybe he had a drink or two before the podcast started. I don't know. I have no idea. Let's get into it.
Revere the elders for their wisdom. It's true. You have a great amount of energy at 38. You're super smart. But I do see something that alarms me, truly.
Fair enough.
Because you don't have the wisdom about certain issues. I don't think you think Trump lost the election.
Well, I think that big tech interfered. You and I have talked about this like a year ago.
What the fuck does that matter?
I want to say
who got the. Of course, big tech interfered. They interfered for Trump. What was all about? Fox News being.
It's the largest illegal campaign contribution in human history.
Okay, but who actually got more votes?
Biden got, literally in terms of the number of votes that were counted.
And Biden won the states.
I have seen no evidence to suggest
there is
that there was.
That's why you haven't seen it. And so Biden won the Electoral College.
I want to come back.
Wait, just answer this. No, you can't come back. You can't play politician.
Well, I want to come back to it after we're done with this.
Did Biden win the amount of electoral votes that they said he won, and therefore is the legitimate president?
I think the reason he's not legitimate.
Not the right answer.
No, the reason the election was rigged Big tech. That's really the answer. Bill, and I'm
It doesn't
data-driven.
matter.
It
Big
does
tech
matter,
is
though.
always, yes, it does matter.
Here's what matters.
But we can't, at the moment, it's happened.
I accept Biden's the duly elected president of the United States. I said it at the time and I said it now.
Everybody does bad things during campaigns, including using big tech. What matters is then who got the most votes. We have to start with somewhere that's real. That's what's real. Who won those states that puts him in the White House? And you cannot just say to me, yes, Biden won the election. Because
yes. I said that at the time. I
so
said it at the
Biden
time and I said
won
it
the
ever
election.
since.
Because
Biden had the most votes in the election. Biden had the most
can't
votes
say
in the
those words. It's like you're a husband who can't say.
No, Biden had, but the reason is, Bill, I mean, there's good data on this. We were systematically suppressed. The Hunter Biden bribery story, which is relevant today,
That's what
on the eve of an election where most people who are independent said, many people who are independent, enough to change the outcome of the election, said they would have changed their vote had they had access to that information. It's the greatest form of election interference in human history.
No,
that's actually the fact.
That would be Russia. If you're listening, please find Hillary's emails and then release them on WikiLeaks. That was the biggest breach. I mean, you can't really believe it.
You're talking about James Comey and his statements before the 2016 election.
I'm talking about Trump. Trump said that. I don't need James Comey. Trump said, Russia, if you're listening. You don't remember that moment?
I mean,
you don't remember that?
I don't particularly remember that moment, but I'm talking about large technology companies in this last election.
Okay.
I just think if we don't learn from that, Bill, we're destined to make the same mistakes again. But here's what I'll say.
I don't
That's an
believe
example
you
of
that,
what you'll call lack of wisdom.
Okay,
and we can agree to disagree on that.
You're running as like, I'm not the bullshitter guy like the other guys. And then you just told me you don't remember when Trump said, Russia,
I actually don't, but
it was a
but
giant moment
recount it
that's
for
been
me.
replayed a zillion times.
Back when I was in business and
you're, oh really, you were that tuned out from politics?
I mean, what Trump was saying on a given day in 2016.
Not a given day.
Really.
That was replayed a zillion times because he was impeached over this.
I think the impeachment, though, I can talk about. I mean, the impeachment was on a flawed basis. I mean, that's a hard reason we now understand. But here's the problem right now. We are still spending, and this is why I'm in this race. We have spent literally 7 years now relitigating and rehashing that series of events that, whatever they are, is not going to change.
Well, yes,
and I think that's what's wrong in this election right now as well.
Well, that's the nature of justice. When people commit crimes, if they're not punished for it, then they tend to commit the crimes again. So the fact that we're still talking about it, yes, he's got
I think these indictments are deeply politicized. I think they're a bad idea for the future of the country.
Well, let's just talk about the one that matters, the one where he tried to overthrow the United States government. You don't think that...
You're talking about the third one from Jack Smith.
I'm talking about...
the Jack Smith indictment.
Absolutely.
So I believe that I would have made very different judgments than Trump made that day. But Trump expressing his view on the outcome of the election, even knowingly telling a lie, is not unconstitutional.
Great.
It's not a legal violation.
So
Alvarez is a case which 2012
but he didn't just,
famously said politicians can have a First Amendment right to lie. And Jack Smith's indictment acknowledges that, which is the interesting part about this.
Okay. But this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about things like putting up fake electors. That's not just words. They did that. A slate of fake electors. We're talking about a guy on tape saying, this is the one that came down the other day about Georgia, a guy on tape saying, I need you to find me 11,780 more votes. Now, that alone, if I just had that, wouldn't that be a case? I need you to find me, he's saying
and they didn't do it, right?
But that, I tried to rob a bank the other day and I didn't get the money.
What law, I mean, here's where I'm at. Not every bad judgment or every bad act is a crime.
Oh my God.
What law did that violate?
He's the president.
What law did that violate?
Probably the oath of office that he took when he would defend the United States.
That's not something more essential. I mean, George Bush violated the oath of office.
What is more
when he sent troops to Iraq? This is why we vote people out. That's how elections work.
I know, but
so I think that's the fundamental difference in how we do things in the United States, where you're taking deeply held judgments that you disagree with. Great, go to the ballot box, vote. That's how we do things in the United States of America.
Which is exactly what he's on trial for. One of the counts is
I think it's
cheating people out of their vote.
The question is, what's best for the country at this point in time?
Well,
and I do not think that in the middle of an election,
Well, the first thing we can decide. I agree with you that.
And look at the timing of this indictment.
I agree with you that it may prove. We may look back on this and say, because the indictments only make Trump stronger. He's like a rapper. You know, the more times he gets arrested, the more street cred he has. And I think, you know, the idea that Republicans don't like him because they love that he's
Man, and it kind of just goes on like this. And it's so odd to be doing this with someone as smart as Vivek. There's so many other things you can touch on with this guy. There's so many other things you can talk about. He has policies that he wants to put in place. You can ask him why. There's so many other things. And Bill is just stuck on Trump. It was almost like this interview was like for a good 30 minutes. It's a hour and 5 minutes. A good 30 minutes was him trying to get Vivek to say that Biden won the election and to disavow Trump and to stop defending him. Just very, very odd. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is how Bill is when Trump is brought into the picture. There's many people who I think are sensible until they start talking about Trump, and then all of a sudden all of their ration, their reason, their sympathy, everything goes away. It's really, really weird to watch. But Vivek handles himself. I might be saying his name wrong. You know who I'm talking about. He handled himself so well throughout this whole thing. There's no sweating. There's no stuttering. There's no, like, he's just relaxed the whole time. Very interesting. But I've never seen somebody get so surprised that the person that they're talking to doesn't believe what they believe and doesn't know exactly the things that they know. It's so crazy to me. He's surprised that Vivek doesn't know about Trump saying that and that recording being played over and over again. The guy was running a multi-billion dollar company. He's like, you were that tuned into business? It's like, yeah, man, he's not a comedian where he has to watch the news every day. He's not me, where he's at home in front of light. He's running a $1 billion company. Ridiculous. Wow. Very, very, very good on Vivek's part. I really like watching this guy talk. I like how he handles conversations. And I liked him in good conversations that were going, well. I like him even more when I see him in tense conversations because he stays just as cool. He stays just as happy. He stays just as civil with the opposing person, and he stands by what he says. Like right now, he could easily just change the topic, but instead he just leans in and allows the conversation to happen. He's like, let's go. Let's talk about it. And he was right on so many different parts. The fact that this guy, someone in the comments was saying it, I found out just recently watching this podcast, the fact that this guy won't be Trump's vice president just destroys me. He's perfect. He's perfect for it. He'd be a good president, but also look at him. He is like a defender when it comes to Trump, just stiff-arming every claim perfectly. Oh, man. They would be such a good team. Such a good team. Vivek just polished. He rounds out everything that's rigid and jagged about Trump just perfectly. But check out the interview. It's a really good interview. But people in the comments are saying it. I'm saying it as well. Bill's kind of hard to listen to in this one. A little bit hard to listen to. He just keeps going on and on about Trump and how he's a criminal and how he's crazy. And I don't get it. Maybe, obviously straight up, being transparent, I'm biased because I don't think that about Trump. I don't think he's a president. I don't think he's a criminal. I think I said it in the last video I put out. These indictments are coming out with a purpose, and that purpose is not justice. That purpose is to maintain control and to not have anybody in a position of power who is going to speak and do things for the people, to not have anybody in power who's going to build America. People have to understand, and this is why I keep saying every episode, Google Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030, one of their main things that they want to see out is that America is no longer the superpower, that it is brought down, and that there are multiple superpowers now. And we're seeing all of this play out. with China, Russia, India's joining up. There's a bunch of other countries that are trying to rise to that point. It's an organized attack on America that's happening on the outside and happening on the inside. That's what this is. That's why if Trump gets into office, if someone like Vivek gets into office, it's a big problem, because they're going to turn it around. They're going to make sure that dollar comes back stronger than ever. And any country that's not hitched onto that dollar like they were before is going to suffer consequences. They don't want to see that happen. That is, as far as I can see it, when you, and this is just me, you look into the World Economic Forum and everything they're doing, and you will see the governments of the world acting in correlation with what the World Economic Forum wants. And this is one of them. Having the United States fall as a superpower. Fall so far down that it can't even climb back up to superpower status. That's one of their goals. Anyways, guys, like the video if you haven't liked it already. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And vote Trump. No, I'm kidding. Vote for whoever you want. Vote for whoever makes the most sense to you. Whichever policies speak to you the most. But don't get pulled in by the mainstream media trying to make someone out to be a criminal. I say it all the time. The mainstream media looks at somebody and says X, Y, Z and how they're a terrible person. You got to lean in close and really see what that person's about. Because as far as I can see, the mainstream media puts people on platforms, on pedestals that are all sorts of bad. Things that I can't even say. But we all know what's going on with Epstein's Island, right? Or what was going on, or maybe still currently is. All those people are being protected. But someone like Trump is being demonized. I don't know. Anyways, guys, other than that, I am out.